Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie. Three T's, no lie. Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie. Three T's, no lie. Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie. Three T's, no lie. Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie. Three T's, no lie. Welcome to the truth, Three T's, no lie. Welcome to the truth, welcome to the truth. Welcome to the truth.
Welcome to T.D.T Talk, where we tell you
the damn truth.
Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie.
Co-host, welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie.
Hey, three T's, no lie.
It's been too
Love
long.
it.
Look,
It has
a whole 2 weeks. Okay,
2 weeks.
I'm gonna have to be honest. I felt less stressed
Yes.
without having to, just not feeling that pressure of being here and on point and all these topics. We did. How many topics did we do last year, Carl?
48.
Oh my gosh. So this year, I am looking forward to being able to focus on even greater content. The show that we are bringing you guys tonight is going to be amazing. Hey, Ava.
Ava, hey, boo.
We are taking this extra time in between to make sure that we bring you guys some solid content that's necessary for the Black community. We are bringing you guys more speakers, more experts in the Black community. So yeah. Ready to go ahead and get this popping?
You know it.
I see y'all watching, but I'm gonna need y'all to drop us a hello. How you doing? Where you been? Something.
Let us know who you is so we can say hello. And while we're waiting for a few people to jump in, I'm really excited. We got a guest speaker tonight, y'all, that lives, breathes, eats finances. Because look, Sharon normally gives y'all this nice little spiel about how the topic we may talk about may trigger you. And that is very true today. What we talk about concerning finances may trigger your credit score. It may make you feel some kind of way, So we have a counselor on standby. His name is Jesus. Yes, you call him, tell him what you want, because only he can help you fix your credit score. Boom, I told you I was going to be able to find a way to make a joke. I was waiting, y'all. It was beating me up.
It may trigger your credit score. Okay.
Yes, call him up and tell him what you want. All right. Hey, Megan. Hey, Donna. Welcome, y'all.
Hey, guys. Hey, Megan. Hey. Girl, I haven't seen you since a referral. I ain't seen your name because we ain't seen your face because of COVID, but I ain't seen your name since a referral. Hey, Sean. Y'all, look, my undiagnosed ADD was acting up because I could not find the earrings I wanted to wear. So I had to find an alternate pair.
I love it. I love it.
So did we do our little intro? I don't think we did.
We did not. Go ahead and kick them off, girl.
Well, welcome to T.D.T Talk, where we tell you
the damn financial truth. Yes.
There it is. Y'all, we are talking about a very important topic tonight. I would just like to say one thing about this topic. So financial literacy is the topic tonight. And this is something that I can say from my personal experience that, our families don't really teach us about financial literacy from a young age. We have to go through some shit. Like we have to go through some highs and lows and some very lows and some I wish I would have known before we get this information. And I will say in other cultures, they do it completely different. So y'all, I want us to get ahead of the game instead of being behind and get your notebooks and your pens out. We're about to get some knowledge tonight from our guest. Carl, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest?
Yes, this is someone I have had the pleasure of knowing and growing up with, and just cool, very cool, laid back brother. And oftentimes, we meet people and come to find out they family. This is family for me, y'all. So I just want to give a warm welcome to our special guest, T.D.T. first for 2022, my cousin, Deon. Deon, come on in. Bring him on in, Sharon. Bring him on in.
All right. Look, Carl, you the one
Hey,
that.
how you doing?
Hello, hello.
I don't
Hello.
know. Deon, I don't know if you're really cousins with Carl because I know Carl, and Carl is full of the foolishness. And full of the foolishness and financial literacy, the two ain't going together for me. But I'm glad that you are his family so that you can guide him. Sometimes when we don't have it within, we need these people close to us to be able to guide us and support us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So hopefully I can part with some knowledge tonight and everyone can take something away from tonight.
Awesome.
Amen. All right, Sharon, you start off with the first question.
All right, y'all. So first question, Deon, would be, at what age should you start focusing on building your credit? And what's a great first step to take?
That's a great question. So there's no easy answer. There's no defined age per se, limit or age, I should say, when you should start actually trying to build your credit. So it all goes down to when you understand actually what credit is and how it can be used to your advantage. So it can start at a young age where, you're bound, well, no one really writes checks anymore, but you have a banking account and you're establishing your money. Hold on real quick. That's my dog in the background. Hold on.
Hey, dog in the background. You fine. This how we do.
This how we do.
Okay. Yeah, you may hear him occasionally. Yeah, so like I said, there's no predetermined age limit. Is honestly when you understand what credit is and how credit drives our society, whether it's from an individual perspective or a business perspective, everything is driven on credit. So when businesses take out loans, it's all about the credit rating they have. The United States of America has a credit rating. So every country, everywhere that in this world, when you're trying to operate, deals with credit. So understand this at a young age on how this can impact you. The earlier the better, quite honestly. Okay. Because you don't want to get to a point where you actually understand what credit is and and it's after you made a mistake and you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole. So the earlier the better when it comes to credit is best. So honestly, it starts as early as preschool. You can start building and instilling in your children the importance of credit, the importance of keeping, making on-time payments, diversifying their credit, having not just credit cards, but having different types of loans when it comes to mortgages, personal loans, car loans, things like that actually make up your credit score, and importance on having a low credit card balances. The length of your credit history is very important as well as your credit utilization. So understanding all those factors on how credit works, the sooner the better. When you can instill those things into your children, the better they'll be when it comes time for them to go out in the world after they graduate high school. They go into college, and after they graduate college, and they're starting their careers and having families. You don't want to put yourself at a disadvantage, because when you do that, you're less likely to get home mortgages, get car loans, or if you do, you're paying a higher fee than someone who has a credit score. Because one way of looking at it too is to say, if you want to give someone $5 and you want them to give you, $6 back, who would you rather lend to? Someone who has a history of paying their debts on time and you don't have to worry about getting your money, or someone who doesn't have that history where you don't know if you're going to get your money back? So that's essentially what banks do. Any creditors is all a calculation on how they feel if you're going to be able to pay the money back that they're lending to you. So the higher credit score you have, the more diverse credit you have, the better it's going to help you in the long run. So one way to start that is a credit card, but not an unsecured credit card. It's a credit card it's a secure credit card. And what that is you give a bank a certain amount of money, let's say it's $300, $600, you actually get that to them in a deposit, and then that is your credit limit. So you can take that credit card, swipe it at any agency wherever they take Visa, MasterCard, whatever it is, and you can't exceed that $600. But what it does from the bank's perspective is you're less of a risk because this is your own money. So if you are to default, we already have the money that we took from you. So more banks are willing to do a secure credit card, and at the same time, it builds credit. But it's a way that can teach you on how credit works and can help you with paying your bills on time. So that's one tip I'll give people if they're trying to start out. They start with a secure credit card, then eventually you can progress to a unsecured credit card, home loans, car loans, things like that.
Okay, so let me hold on. I got a question, Sharon. I'm tagging in. I got a question.
Go ahead. I wrote mine down.
Okay, because it's on the top of my dome. Now, look, you were talking about the unsecured credit card.
Yes.
And I know I've been seeing a lot of stuff with that green leaf for kids, where it's like their own personalized debit card type of thing. So are you talking about getting us a secure credit card for adults, or is it good to start that with children as like when they're getting allowances type of thing, like putting it into that secured credit card?
So as I mentioned earlier, the sooner you can start this instilling good credit habits, the earlier. So it can be children. You want to do this with your kids before they leave your home. When you have a better grip on what they're doing, and you have more impact on their lives. Because you can still get it when you're older, but it works more if you were taught these things at a younger age versus later on in life. So either will work, but it'll be better if you do it earlier in life.
Now, what is the age limit for credit? Because I was under the guise that you can't get credit until you hit 18. Is that still true, or?
So there were some laws after the recession where it kind of tightened a lot of things up. I'm talking about the 2007, 2009 recession. So when it comes to like unsecured credit, yes, you have to be 18 years of age. There's some things that are around there. I'm not sure about the secured off the top of my head, but it's definitely an answer I can get back to you on. But it is a little bit easier to get a secured card because it is your money that you're putting in. And of course, if we're talking about the younger the better. If parents can get a card on behalf of their children, or they can even get a credit card and give their kids as authorized user on that credit card. So there's ways around that age limit as long as the parents are involved and they do their due diligence. Okay.
Go ahead, Sharon. Tag you it.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were talking about who would you rather lend to? Someone who pays on time or someone who pays late? And it reminded me of how we do in our families, right? We all have those family members who we know we're not going to loan the money to, or anybody.
That's true.
Because we know they never pay it back, right? So we do this just organically within our families. So to apply this to our own personal credit or in thinking about building credit, I think if we just think about it in that way, that'll be good as well.
That's a great point. That definitely is a great point because, like you said, we all have those people that we know if we give them some money, we're never going to see it again. So, it's like if you want some money, ask for it instead of let me borrow this because I'm never going to see it again. Same concept.
Look, I keep my credit good with my family. They know I pay on time.
Yes.
So also, when you said length of credit history, could you explain just a little more? What do you mean by length of credit history? Yeah.
So one of the factors that goes into making up a credit score is the actual length of it. So, if you're 18 starting out, you're not going to have the same credit score as someone who is in their 50s or 60s, who's had, 30, 40 plus years to build up their credit history. So that's just something that comes over time. So that's why you want to start when you first start building your credit. you want to do what you need, do the right things in the beginning, and that way, as you get older, you already have an established, established history of good paying your bills on time, keeping credit card balances low. So it impacts you a lot better over the course of time, because it kind of goes to the back to the same thing of when you don't really have a credit history, you're kind of an unknown to any creditor. But if they can see a length of period over time, different types of loans that you may have, etc., you're less risky to them. So that's where the length of credit history comes in. But that's only something that can happen as you get older. But if you start good in the beginning and continue those good habits throughout your life, then you'll be in much better shape.
Okay, awesome. That helps a lot. And then you also mentioned diversifying credit. What does that mean exactly for all of our listeners?
Yeah, so it goes back to that old term, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. So when companies look and when they run their algorithms, like the FICO score is what everyone hears of, and there's now the Vantage Score 3.0, they're looking at a number of factors. And one of those factors is what your credit is actually made of. So you don't want to be too heavy in one area. Let's say if your credit is just credit cards, that's a negative too, because they want to see different types of loans that you've applied for and people are willing to lend money to you. So when it comes to student loans are on your credit, mortgages, home loans, personal loans, like I said, credit cards is a major one. So all those different areas where people are actually lending you money and lending you something is what I mean by diversifying your credit, because you don't want to be too heavy in one area.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So let me ask this before we move on to the next question. So y'all know me. I tell the truth. I wasn't taught this growing up. I was not taught financial literacy. I wasn't taught to even think about the future in a financial mind frame. Me and Sharon have talked a lot of times that we were taught to survive. And for survival for me was pay your bills on time. You make sure your rent was paid, your electricity was paid, and your water and gas and the basic essentials. And if you had to rob Peter to pay Paul, that's how I was taught. So one thing I didn't know until recently, and maybe you can just expand on it, when they talk about debt to income ratio, I know a lot of people don't understand what that means. Can you give us a better understanding of what that income to debt ratio means?
Yeah, not a problem. Most of the time that comes into effect when you're applying for a mortgage is when they really look at that. When you consider when you're applying for an auto loan or a credit card, you're simply just putting information in a system and they're relying on you to be truthful about what you're actually making. There's no verification process with that. However, when it comes to a mortgage, when you're going through that process, that's one thing they look at. So your debt to income ratio is essentially, if it's just you or your spouse, everything that you are making is obviously your income. Then the ratio, different banks and lenders have different ratio numbers, but they generally want to see you under 50% and more in that 40% range. So that's essentially what you make for your yearly income divided by 12, what you're making in a month, then what the mortgage would be, plus all your other expenses that you currently have. So, they take into account auto loans, any credit card that you have, personal loans, anything like that you're currently paying. Then they add the mortgage on top of that, what the mortgage price is projected to be per month. And then they figure out a ratio. And a lot of times if you're bumping up against that, or if you're over that, then they're basically saying that you're going to over leverage yourself, or essentially means that you're going to be paying too much of your income every month to the mortgage and your bills. And if something were to happen, then you want to have the ability to pay the mortgage. So that's where that debt income ratio comes in, is when you're applying for a mortgage.
Okay. Thank you. See, y'all, the more you know, the more you know.
Knowledge is power.
No problem. And before we move on, one thing that I learned personally is because this world is set up to run off of credit. One thing I've always said is you can have no money but have excellent credit and get anything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have excellent credit, you can get literally anything that you want. You're not going to be denied. So even if you don't have the money to pay for it right then and there, you're still going to be able to get something on credit. So that's another way of looking at why, having a great credit score and a great credit history is so important.
Okay.
All right, now you gave us an equation for the debt to income ratio. It was income divided by 12. What was that again?
Yeah, so it's your total yearly income. So you divide that by 12 to get your monthly income. Then it is your amount of expenses in a month divided by your income. And generally, you want to see that under 50%. And like I said, depending on the lender, they may and depending on the lender and amount of mortgage you're applying for, they may want to even see that even lower than that.
All right, so TDT viewers, y'all heard what he said: 40% or below. So don't be sitting out here wanting a Bugatti and your ass only makes $11 an hour. That you need to be mindful. I hate that word.
When it comes to a mortgage, you can't really have this 8-bedroom house if you're making $11 an hour, right? You got to push your income just a little bit, right? So we have some questions. We have Dino. It says, hey, Deon, do you think adding children as authorized user on their parents' credit card is a great way to establish kids' credit history? This is a great question because I was advised to do this for my kids. And my kids are 13. So I was looking at about 16. I would add them on.
So, it definitely is a great way and to do that because, like I said, they're still in your household. You can watch what they're doing and you can build solid habits. So the earlier you can expose someone to something, the better. And when you can add them as an authorized user, and you can even, a lot of companies, they set up where if you add your kid as an authorized user, they're only allowed to spend up to a certain amount. And so you can, you don't have to give them the full $50,000 or whatever it is. You can give them $1,000 or even $500, and they can't go over that. So it's a way to teach them. You can use a credit card for a lot of things, but it's also that responsibility too. So it's definitely a great tool that I'll use.
So now, so when you have them as an authorized user, and like we know, they run our credit just to even establish a credit limit. Is your child's credit tapped into? Is that going to be a soft hit or a hard hit on an authorized user? Do they have the same proclivities as far as expectations?
Yeah, so it's kind of two questions there. So with the same expectation, same expectations kind of them if they were a co-signer. Okay. So if you're a co-signer on something, you had the same expectations as the person that you're co-signing for as the primary person. Whereas an authorized user, you're just another person using the main person's credit card. So it's ultimately up to the main person, to actually pay everything that's their credit cards and all the credit cards under them. So, and you also mentioned about a hard hit. Yes, it is a hard hit. Anytime you apply for credit, unfortunately, it is a hard hit on your credit. So, and that's another thing that I forgot to mention earlier. And thank you for bringing that up. Is you want to, and another way to increase your credit score is to apply for credit sparingly. Okay.
Now, sparingly, expand on that, because we got some viewers that they may just have walked into college a second semester. Yeah. We got 14 booths stood up like, hey, bro, you can get a credit card right here.
Yeah. So another telltale sign for creditors, when they pull your credit report, if they see a lot of hits in a short period of time, which is normally about 2 years. So if they see 10 to 15 instances of where you're applying for credit, then that's a sign that you don't have enough money to pay your stuff, and you're seeking other ways to get that money. So that's also a negative too. So you have to be strategic in how when you apply for credit as well. So it leads to another point: when you're applying for a mortgage or an auto loan, there's about a 2-week period from when you first apply for a mortgage, and you know lenders are running your credit to have you pre-approved.
Mhm.
About that, there's a 2-week period in there where you can apply. You can do it multiple times to shop for the best rate, where it won't negatively affect you because they know that you're shopping around for the best rate, and not necessarily you keep applying for credit. So there's instances like that where you know it can be multiple credit inquiries over a short period of time, but then they'll be able to see what you're actually doing, and it won't.
Okay, hold on,
negatively affect
hold
you.
on. That sound good. I need you to run that back for somebody that just may have logged in. So you mean to tell me if me and Sharon go and we want a 2022, Range Rover, Range Rover, Lord Jesus,
Yeah.
what a 2022 Range Rover, all blacked out.
Yeah.
And when they first do that initial credit run, we all know that's going to be a hard hit on our credit, which usually y'all takes about 6 months to a year, where your credit score builds back up. Just FYI. We have 2 weeks within that time frame to go maybe look at Hyundai or Mitsubishi. Like we have 2 weeks within that time frame.
Yes. So that's generally because a lot of times when you apply for something, you may get these random emails saying, "Hey, have you thought about this vehicle and stuff?" Marketers sell your information. So yeah, whenever you're applying for stuff, there's a period where you can shop around. It's a defined period. It's normally about no more than 2 weeks from the first inquiry when you have your credit score run or your credit report run and there's a hard inquiry. There's about a 2-week period where they look at it as one inquiry that you're doing because they know you're shopping around
for the same thing. So
for the same thing. Yes.
For the same thing. So all of them got to be for car loans.
Yeah. Now it's gonna be different if you go apply for auto loan than a mortgage. That's obviously 2 different things. But as long as it's for the same thing, yes.
Okay. So as we continue, because this is good. Hey, Turtle, checking in. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. We have a question from Megan, and she says, how does school loans affect your income to debt ratio?
Oh, please share.
Please share.
Yeah, that's a very good question, especially right now with federal loans being deferred or for the last 2 years or so.
Because I'm on my second one.
Yeah. So that generally is depends on your lender. So I know what most lenders do with because student loans are a little bit different on how they look at the debt, because it's kind of considered good debt in a way because they see that you went to school. So you went to school obviously to make more money. So they kind of look at it kind of as a wash. But if you're from experience, when I got the mortgage on my home, my loans were in forbearance or deferment. As long as they weren't due within the year time frame of when I closed, they weren't looked at all.
Same here.
So yeah. So and that's another thing that like I said, it depends on the lenders, but most lenders do that where if they're not currently due within a year, then they don't consider that in your debt to income ratio when you're applying for a mortgage. But if they are due in your current on, then yes, they are going to look at them.
Okay.
Look, I clearly went to the wrong lender because I didn't owe nothing on my student. Like they had not sent me a bill yet. And they was like, oh, well, no, because we're going to take 10% of the total amount of the loan. And I'm like, I'll never get a house. How much my student loans are?
Right.
So, yeah, they told me I had to actually wait until I got an amount that I owed.
Yeah, and that's why in that 2-week period from when you apply, it's good to shop around because each lender will have their own criteria that they want you to meet.
Good to know.
Okay. We got Naisha said, but money talks louder than income from her experience. And then she said, and mortgage lenders, depending on the loan applied for, matters. FHA versus USDA versus conventional. I learned about that too when I was shopping for my home mortgage.
Yeah. That is true. As she said, the different types of loans, one loan in there that she didn't mention was a VA loan. So all the different programs come with their different criteria. Conventional loan, normally you got to have that 20% down when it comes to the total price of the home. You got to put 20% down. They'll finance the 80%. Then, VA loan is no money down if you're a veteran, if you qualify for it. FHA is normally about 3 or 3.5%. And the same thing I think with the HUD one is maybe around that same percentage down payment. So yeah, it depends on the program, definitely. But yeah, ultimately, if you have cash, yes,
Okay.
cash trumps all.
Okay. And then Naisha says, so what are some resources to teach our children financial literacy?
That is that's a very good question. So obviously, kids, you don't want to, may not be able to read a book that, that's at, comprehension level.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of YouTube videos that are out there. I can get back with you guys. I know there's like a book series that's about financial literacy for kids, and like is written that so a kid will understand. I can get back to you guys with that book series so you can put it out to your followers.
Please do. Would
Yeah.
love that.
But
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the most impactful thing to teach children about financial literacy is actually from the parents or their guardians. It's the most impactful, and not only that, showing them the right way to do things or just explaining how things are done and why you're doing a certain way will be most impactful. Because from personal experience growing up, I did everything opposite what my parents did, and I saw how my parents were struggling with when it came to certain things or how they did things, and and I made a promise to myself that I'm gonna do things differently when I get older. So your children are watching what you're doing, so it's always great to set a good example for them because they'll learn the most from you.
Okay. I like this. All right. And then Megan wanted to say thank you for answering her question. So moving on to our little questions we have for you.
Yep.
What are some do's and don'ts when it comes to improving your credit score? Because I know, like, for me, I was told it's better to have like multiple credits, like you said, multiple lines of credit. And then like never max out on your credit card, but like bring it to the halfway point and then start paying it down. Is that a good do? Don't do?
Yeah. So obviously you don't want to max out all your credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
That's a no. You want to pay your bills on time. That's a do. If it all it takes is one time to mess up, being late, and then it takes forever to try to recover from that. Yeah. So as far as the credit cards, like a rule of thumb when it comes to credit cards is it's not a particular credit card per se that you don't want to be over 50% on. It's you don't want to be over 30% total of all your credit utilization. So if you have 9 different credit cards, and your total credit balance is $90,000, then generally between all of them, you want to stay below $30,000. Versus, if you have one card for $10,000, then you want to stay below $3,000. So it's not tied to a particular card, but overall, what your total credit utilization or your total credit amount is, you want to stay below 30%. Because as soon as you start creeping over that, then it starts negatively affecting you a lot more, and you're gonna see your credit score drop because you're using more and more of your credit. So obviously from a bank's perspective, you don't have the money to pay for what you're paying for. So you become more and more riskier the higher and higher that balance goes up.
So then you become like a liability in the eyes of the credit bureau? Yep. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. And when it comes back to the credit bureaus, the 3 main ones, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, they all have their own proprietary algorithm that they use to calculate their scores. So what I'm putting out is like generally what people have figured out or what the little bit they have told, but how they actually do their scores is a little bit no one actually knows. But it also the reason why you have 3 of them, you want to check all of them, is because not every creditor reports to all 3 bureaus. So that's why you're going to see a fluctuation in the your credit scores for the 3 different bureaus.
Okay.
So, yeah. You like your major ones, hopefully they will report a mortgage to all 3 of them, but there's nothing in law that says the creditor needs to report everything to all 3 of them.
New information. Did not know that.
I need somebody to get TransUnion straight because they be trying to do me dirty. Like Equifax and Experian, they be on point. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you see me, you see what I'm doing. TransUnion. I'm like, really? Shady.
TransUnion is like that ghetto ass cousin that you hate that comes to the get together because they late as hell. I hate
Clean up all the
TransUnion.
damn food. Hell
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, Corey,
Got
man, what cousin
14
of ours you
kids.
talking about, man?
Right? Don't tell nobody. Sharon, you want to ask the next one?
All right, next question. What are some strategies to help me pay less on my taxes?
Oh,
So
right.
I work plus I'm a business owner. So
Okay.
what are some things that I need to do so that I pay less on my taxes?
Okay. Yeah. So what I do with my clients is I generally this is like this is tax strategy right here, and there's a difference between tax strategy and tax preparation. So generally what I try to do is offer my clients both of them in my prices. So I want to have a continuous process with them throughout the year on these things, and it's great. Everyone's situation is different, but generally some things, like as a business owner, you want to write off a lot to bring your taxable income down. Is generally what you want to do. So if you have rental properties and things like that, generally most of the time you want your rental properties to be running at a loss for tax purposes, but your cash flow is not necessarily at a loss. But for tax purposes, it is, because then when you have a rental property, you can start deduct things like depreciation and things like that otherwise wouldn't be available to you. So ways to save on your taxes is, quite honestly, with the way the tax code is set up, you want to venture out from becoming a W-2 employee to move into becoming a business owner to eventually becoming an investor. And that is where you want to reside, essentially. If you think of it as a quad chart, when it comes to W-2 employees, your tax higher because everything's considered ordinary income. So there's a few mechanisms to do that. One would be, having a 401k and contributing to your 401k is a good way to get your taxable income low. Charitable contributions is another way to get your taxable income low. But there's only so many mechanisms you can do when you're just a W-2 employee. And as soon as you become a business owner, you don't necessarily have to have LLC, but as soon as you declare, hey, I'm good, I'm good at doing this, I'm going to start doing this as a business, and you become sole proprietor. As soon as you do that, you unlock about 90% of the tax code, versus a W-2, you only have about 5% of the tax code available to you. But as soon as you start getting into those different areas of the tax code, more and more of it starts opening up to you. And what I mean by that is, right now, with the 2007 tax law, the Trump tax cuts that he did, there's something called QBI deduction, qualified business income. So that deduction, you can take 20% of your income. You can deduct up to 20% of your income on top of your other deductions. Whereas if you're a business owner, if I'm just a W-2 employee, that's not available to me.
Okay.
Same thing when it comes to depreciation. If I'm just a W-2 employee and I don't have a rental property, or I'm not flipping homes, something like that, then I can't deduct these things that are otherwise available to me. And one example that I want to bring up is when Trump was in office, there's stories about him, how he lost $1 billion in 1990, and how he didn't pay any taxes. And I think this last year in office, he paid $750 in taxes as a billionaire. So the reason he didn't pay any taxes in that $1 billion loss that he had is something called net operating loss, so NOL. And essentially what it is if you have a loss as a business owner or a real estate investor, you are allowed to carry that loss over 10 or 20 years in the future to deduct against future income. And you're also allowed, from when you file, let's say you file 2021, you're also allowed to go back 2 to 5 years and amend those tax returns to use some of that loss that you incurred this year. So the reason I said between 2 and 5 years back and between 10 and 20, because there are some changes with the tax law that are about to come up, and it's going to shrink the time frame. So that's why I'm giving a broad range. But yeah, so like those losses that he did were, yes, they're on paper, but he was allowed to use those losses against future income to bring his taxable income down. It's the same reason when you think about Amazon, these large companies that pay $0 in taxes, they're C corporations, which are treated as a regular person. They're using the tax law to the fullest extent. So it's not tax evasion they're doing, it's legal tax avoidance, and there's a difference. So they're legally avoiding ways to pay taxes on the income that they're making by using the mechanisms that are available to them by the business that they're in. So, and when you think about the top 1% and the people, and the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk and all those people, they're not W-2 employees at all. All their money is in investments and real estate. And once you move from a W-2 employee into investing in real estate and things like that, you're then not paying ordinary income tax, which is up to, I think the highest tax right now, I think it's 37%. You're now paying capital gains taxes, where the highest tax bracket is 20%.
Okay.
So you're still doing business, but because your income is classified differently, you're paying less on it overall, and that's where the 1% is. So they're not W-2 employees. They're getting their money from capital gains, and they're paying that capital gains, and that's ultimately where you want to get to, and that's a key for anyone if they want to use the tax code to their fullest extent and to their advantage, is to gradually move from a W-2 to those other, where you're an investor or you're a real estate mogul, and you're doing those things because the tax code favors you, and more than it does an ordinary person working a 9 to 5.
Okay, so hold on.
Go ahead.
To see what God will do for you, let no man put asunder. That's what the Lord is somewhere in the Bible. It's somewhere in the Bible, y'all. So if you did not hear, Deon clearly, it was 2 messages in his little spiel just a few seconds ago. It was 2 messages. One, he said, boss your ass up. That's what he said. He said, thou shalt no longer be a W-2 employee. That's what he said. We will not work for the man no longer. We will work for ourselves. Okay, that was the message number 1.
That was point number one.
Message number 2, he said, thou shalt invest. So with that being said, invest in T.D.T. We accept all major credit cards, cash apps. No, not. But y'all, this is some premium knowledge. How many of y'all knew any of that? Because I did not know any of that. And it makes me want to continue to start my business, because see, Sharon ain't the only one that's going to be out here business making. That's what we want to teach here at T.D.T. Be the best you can be. We've already shared so many past videos, but that's a message, y'all. There are breaks that are allowed within the financial world that we're not even privy to because no one taught us. No one taught us about any of these cheat codes. I would have never known that my black behind could have a nice additional, and for gamers, we call that XP points. I can XP, level up, experience. That means once I become my own boss, there's a whole new world available to me. So y'all, pay attention. These are some gems right here. Damn. Go ahead, Sharon. I'm sorry. I have to talk on the message.
So I was just wondering, so right now I'm still a W-2 employee, and then also a business owner. Is there anything, is that a business because I'm halfway over there?
No. So you're doing what I'm doing myself. I'm a W-2 employee as well, but still a business owner, and I want to eventually transition over to the business full time. So just by you being a business owner, you're able to deduct your business expenses and off your Schedule C, and all that is considered an above the line deduction. Essentially, above the line is anything that you deduct to get to your AGI, which is your adjusted gross income, before you take your deductions out, like mortgage interest and things like that. Those are considered below the line. Charitable contributions are below the line. So you're taking your taxable income down when you write things off for your business. So one key to success is you want to get to the point where your personal expenses become your business expenses. Then you're able to write them off. So if you have a phone that you're using, it's your personal phone. As soon as you open up a business, start using that phone for your business, you can now write your phone off. You can write the cost of your phone off, depending on when you open it up. If you get a new phone, you can write that completely off. Your plan, if you have a home office and you're actually using for your business, you can start writing that portion of your home office off when it comes to your electricity, your water, and things like that. You start a portion of that off. And being a business owner is great as a W-2 employee too, because it allows you to write a lot more off that would not be available to you if you weren't a business owner.
Okay, so hold on. Let me pause, Cuzzo. Hold on. So you mean to tell me that I can charge myself rent for this beautiful office that I have, and when I'm helping people in my business, I can write this room off as an expense?
So you're asking two different things there. All right. So if you have a designated area in your house that is for business purposes strictly,
yes,
you can write off a portion of all expenses for that room in your house off on your taxes.
Look at God. Okay.
So, and to get back to your other question about, charging yourself rent, yes, there's ways to do it. That's a little bit more complicated. That's that's what you call the Augusta rule. And that's from the masters that are in like the 1970s. This rule came out with Congress, the masters, the golf tournament down in Augusta, Georgia. That's the rule for it, because a lot of people during that 2-week period, they would rent their homes out to the golfers and people going down there to watch it. But then it would create a taxable event where they had to pay taxes on that income. So, around, like I said, around the 70s, Congress came up with a loophole called the Augusta rule, where you can rent your home out for no more than 14 days a year, pocket that money, and it's not a taxable event where you have to pay taxes on it. So there's ways to do that where you can technically rent your house out and your room out to your business. And then then you can write it off as a business expense.
Okay, look at God. Look at God. Okay, our time is dwindling. Y'all, we might have to do a part 2. I'm going to need to see some likes, comments, subscribes to let me know if we need to invite Mr. Deon back. Damn.
Hold on here. Where we at? Let me catch up here. We got thank you, TransUnion. Okay, well, now you and TransUnion can be friends. I'll add them for me. Yes, Mr. Norris is teaching us some knowledge. He is dropping some gems. Yeah, Megan, I agree. Such a cheat code for the rich. So yes, thanks for dropping the knowledge. And Melissa, we have, what are your thoughts on transferring your debts to your business credit versus your personal?
That's a good question.
So I got this ID number for my business.
That kind of goes back to what I was saying to when you want to get to a point where your personal expenses become business expenses. So you can't necessarily, transfer your own personal debts to a business. But if you can start having your personal things become your business expenses, then yes, you can start writing those things off. Then when you build a big enough business base and portfolio, you can start getting things to the business's name separate from your name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, we got 2 more questions because I got, this is, wow. Thank you so much.
Carl, what I think I want to do, can we just do one more question? Because the last question is such a big question. And we don't want Mr. Deon Norris giving all his knowledge away for free.
That's true.
Want you guys to support him and his business and, make sure that you get this knowledge directly from him and not just from T.D.T. So we're just giving y'all just a little bit. So we're going to ask one more question, and then maybe we'll have another investor come on another day and answer some more questions. So the last financial literacy person. Sorry.
So the last question I have, just because I have a child, Sharon has children. What is a simple way to invest money? Because for me, I opened an IRA for my child. and I put money in when he was first born, when he was 2, and I've seen, because you get those nice little bank statements that let me know that his ass is only getting 0.1111999% of a thought.
Yeah.
Are IRAs good? Is that more of a thing of the past? Because we hear about the Bitcoins. What's a simple way to invest money for the future?
Yeah. So if he's getting 0.00 something % back, you sure it's not a savings account you opened up? Because that seems a little bit low.
It's an IRA, and it might be like 3%, but it's low as hell for me.
Yeah. So yeah, an IRA is a great way to invest because it's considered after tax. So like when you when you put money in IRA, you still have the ability to then go and tie that IRA to the stock market if you want, or the Bitcoin if you want, or things like that. So an IRA, I think, is definitely a great way to start investing. But when it comes to investing, only put in what you're willing to what you're willing to lose. So I wouldn't. It depends on how you make an IRA. But one thing when it comes to IRAs, the thing that's neat about them is, yes, there is a limit on IRAs on how much you can contribute. It's I want to say $6,000 still, and maybe go up to $6,000 next year. But because it's considered a Roth IRA and it's money after taxes, the money you put in there is considered taxed already. So the money that you gain in there is non-taxable when you withdraw it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of another way to build wealth tax-free, because you're putting money in there after you've already been taxed, so they can't tax you on it again. So it's another way to build wealth, and it's a great way. As far as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, things like that, yeah, it's a great way to invest right now. It is, there's it's emerging technology. From a financial standpoint, there's not a lot of regulation around that on how to account for it from a financial standpoint, but it's progressing that way because more and more people are using it. So eventually there'll be more rules around it. Yeah, so it's definitely a great way. But one thing, if you're not investing in an IRA, and because with an IRA you can buy, sell all you want, gains, losses, etc. Like you would in any other app, whether it be Coinbase or Robinhood or E-Trade or anything like that. I do want to advise is if you're using these outside of an IRA, if you're using Robinhood or anything like that, and you're buying and selling on a daily basis, and you're not a long-term holder, then what you're doing is you're considered short-term capital gains, which is taxed at the highest. Well, I should say it taxes the highest income bracket. But basically, if you hold any investment for less than a year when it comes to like stocks and you sell it, that gets added to your ordinary income, and you have to pay taxes on it at basically whatever your income bracket will be. So let's say if you made $100,000 in 1 year, then you sell $50,000 worth of stuff, you made a profit on $50,000, then according to the IRS, your total income for the year is $150,000. Where if you hold these things for over a year, then sell, then you're locked into that 5, 10, or 15, or that 5, 15, or 20% long-term capital gains bracket, where you're not paying as much on it. So those things to think about too, is when you're buying it and when you're actually going to sell it, and the tax implications of doing that.
Okay. So, Deon, bruh, you have given us so much information, so many gems, so many seeds you've helped plant in our community. So we definitely appreciate you. We appreciate your time, your knowledge, the passion behind it. How much do you charge for an hour? If I've had people reach out to me so far since we've been on the show, and they know people, how much do you charge? And what services do you offer? Use this as your time to plug your business, because that's what we do here at T.D.T.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I have no problem doing that. Yeah. So I don't charge for consultations. So whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. I want to build, I want to understand more about you, your needs and wants, and then how I can help fulfill those for you. So there's no charge for a call back. I don't do that, because I want you to feel comfortable with the service that you're asking for and the services that I can provide for you. So when it comes to what I provide, tax preparation, tax strategy, that's all included in my prices. So whether you're individual or small business, I can do that. Same thing with bookkeeping for businesses. I can do that as well. I can do audits. I can do consulting work. Evaluations. There's a lot I can do. I can't name everything. But the main things that I'm seeing right now is people. Yeah, when it comes to taxes, whether you're a business owner or individual, yeah, you want to know things that that you may not know, and that you want to be able to deduct on your taxes. And it's my job, and I take it personally, where I'm going to look at everything to fit your situation and see what you can legally deduct on your taxes.
Okay.
Then, yeah, the bookkeeping services, I provide those for businesses. Those are like the two main ones right now that I'm doing, along consulting for people. But generally, anything that you can think of when it comes to accounting or accounting related, I can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, no matter how big or small, I'll handle everything.
Okay.
All right. So Deon, how can someone contact you?
Oh yeah. So on Instagram, my company's name is Nats CPA. So NATS CPA on Instagram. You can go to my website, which is norrisaccountingservice.com, or you can reach out to me, info@norrisaccountingservice.com, and then I'll receive your email and I'll reply back to you. Or you can give me a call at any time. 202-750-5734 is my business line.
Business line, one more time,
202-750-5734.
You done took me to DC. I had some good times in DC.
We ain't gonna do that, Freak Meat. We ain't gonna do that.
Let me make sure I got this information right, because I'm gonna post this for everybody. So, Deon, you are a CPA, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us, for the people in the back that don't know, what is a CPA?
I'm not just saying it because I'm a CPA. But it is the hardest professional exam that you can possibly take that's out there. Because in order to become a CPA, which stands for Certified Public Accountant, you have to have 150 credit hours, which is essentially 5 years of school. You have to practice under a CPA for 1,000 hours before you can become one. And then, in addition to that, you have to take an exam. You have to take an exam, which is it's a CPA exam. It's 4 different exams made up in one that you have to take over an 18-month period. You have to pass all of them with the 75%. Then, on top of that, you have to maintain basically CPAs are licensed by each individual state, and all the states pretty much have the same requirements. So there's CPE trainings that you need to maintain every year, which is about 40 hours a year that you need to maintain, in addition to anything that your state may tack on. So, yeah, and there's 700,000 total active CPAs in the U.S. right now. And the reason why I say it's the hardest is because you can be an accountant and not be CPA. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you graduate your 4-year degree, you're considered accountant. But it's an extra step to distinguish yourself from accountants. Is why you go after your CPA exam. Whereas when it comes to lawyers and doctors, you have to take, the bar exam, or you have to take your med boards in order to become one of those professions. Whereas an accountant, you don't have to. So to be a CPA is something you have to want to do. You have to put time in to do.
Okay.
Awesome. So look, this is not your cousin doing your taxes on the side, okay?
No.
Adding children on that it don't belong to you. Okay, this is a legit business. So Deon, that was 202-750-5734. Your Instagram is at N as in Nancy, AT, C. I'm sorry, S CPA. So Nats CPA. Yeah. And then your website is norrisaccountingservice.com.
Yep. Yes.
All right.
All right, now look.
Reach out to Mr. Norris. Contact information is in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I did want to put out there. So I've actually partnered with another company when it comes to like HR services or resume writing, things like that too. It's called Your Pathfinder LLC. So if you have questions about that, you can definitely reach out to me, and I'll refer you over to that other company.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have that company on here as well.
Okay.
Sure am. Yeah. Now look, TDT viewers, past, present, and current. Don't hit my cousin up and say, Carl sent. I send your ass. Cause see, I'm gonna call my cousin and let him know when I sent you. Don't be trying to use me and Sharon as clout to try to get a 2% discount. We don't do that here. Y'all wouldn't do it for them white folks. Don't try it with the brothers and sisters. Pay what you're supposed to pay, but don't use my name, damn it. Just putting it out there. Don't use my name.
You are terrible. You are terrible. All
Love
right.
it.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. Financial literacy is something that me and Carl have said it several times already. We were not taught this. I'm 46. Okay. So I just started learning probably in my late 30s. So this isn't something that generations and generations before us passed down. So it's not a rinse and repeat thing where we have this mastered in our culture. This is something that, I'm the first generation that's going to pass this on to my kids. So here we are. And I really appreciate you sharing some of your knowledge with us today.
Yes.
Not a problem. I appreciate you having me on. Sharon, yeah, that is that's key. Like, generally these things weren't passed down to us, and that has a lot to do with what has happened to our ancestors and things that have been passed down. So it's all about breaking that cycle and breaking that cycle in a way where not just your children or your grandchildren, but their grandchildren, etc., can benefit off of what you want to build. And one way to do that is real estate and owning land, because real estate and land is one of the few assets that are out there that will always appreciate over time, and you can always borrow against.
Okay.
So that is a key where, I want everyone to eventually get to that point where just buy a piece of land and buy some buy a building and rent it out, etc. Because one thing I want to bring up, like, you heard of Rodeo Drive. I'm sure everyone has a Rodeo Drive, however you want to say it. Lionel Richie, former Commodore, owns most of that, and he purchased it back in the 70s. So all those stores and all those businesses that are charging crazy sums of money are paying him. So think about that. When you own the land to something, when you own land, you can, you never have to sell the land. You can sell the rights above the land and let people do what they want to do, but you're always going to own that land no matter who is there.
Talk about a little known Black history fact. All right, Lionel Richie.
Go ahead, Lionel. Yes.
I was wondering where that loan money came from, because I love the Commodores, but I was like, was he selling that many?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Well, thank you again, Deon. We're going to do our final closing. You can stay on because you can stay on. You family. Damn it. We just going to do it. So for me, y'all, closing thoughts. We got to do better. I'm going to always say that after every show. I'm going to always say that we have to do better. I just want to take that time to see. Y'all see 3 types of melanin here. Sharon is a LCMHC. Deon is a CPA. I'm a LCSW. That's 3 different professions. 3 different professions, 3 types of melanin, and we know our shit on various levels, various platforms that can be influential. Y'all, take your finances serious. Stop getting shit in your children's name. This is not the 90s. Please, don't put little Tanya Nika a cable bill or a phone in her name. Come on, we got to break the damn cycle.
When she's 12, okay?
Right? She the only ninth grader that owe $400,000 to the government. Please, stop that. Stop that. Sharon, what's your final thoughts? That's all I had.
You know what, Carl? That was beautiful. We're going to leave it right there. Y'all do better. Look, put your bills on auto pay. Late payments can really hurt you. Put
Yes.
your bills on auto pay and then pay extra on top of that. So the minimum goes on auto pay and then pay a little extra above that.
Yeah, works for me.
Works for me too.
All right, y'all. Thanks for coming out. Good night. God bless.
Peace.
Welcome to the truth. Welcome to the truth. Welcome to the truth, where the truth don't lie. 3 T's, no lie.
Thank you. Tune in next week. Same black channel, same black host, and we'll holler at you at the same black time. Bye.
Bye.
Right.